Will democracy survive in the next couple of years?
And essentially, we are the same.
And there are so many needs that Minnesota has.
What people are saying they need right now.
Access to democracy is made possible by donations from the following organizations. Thomson Reuters, a global company with expertise and insight to unravel complex situations in the areas of law, tax, compliance, government, and media. Their worldwide network of journalists and editors keep customers up to speed on relevant global events. Thomson Reuters, the answer company. Crutchfield Dermatology, a full-service treatment center in Medi-Spa in Eagan. Their goal is to help you look good and feel great with beautiful skin. With service built around courtesy, dignity, and respect, Mayo-trained Dr. Charles Crutchfield personally treats each patient and is acknowledged as one of the nation's best physicians. Firefly Credit Union, with locations throughout the Twin Cities, has proudly served Minnesotans since 1925. Firefly guides its members forward by delivering customized financial solutions to improve their lives in all aspects of banking. Firefly Credit Union, they light the way with life illuminated. Edina Eye, Physicians and Surgeons, a division of Twin Cities Eye Consultants, has proudly served the Twin Cities for more than 55 years. Now in 7 convenient locations. Using the most advanced technology combined with human touch, Edina Eye offers comprehensive services but dedicated specialists committed to excellence with innovative procedures and expertise for the most advanced eye care.
Welcome once again to Access to Democracy. Here in our 22nd year, and one of our favorite return guests, who's also a guest host, who is also really involved in so many things. Rick King, the managing director of Thomson Reuters International, and soon not to be the managing director of Thomson Reuters International, and we'll get into that. But if it wasn't for Rick King, we wouldn't have this wonderful studio here in Thomson Reuters. Oh, wait a second. We're not in Thomson Reuters. We're in my home and his home, and this is a world of Zoom during the pandemic. But 11 years ago, I went to Rick King when Eagan TV was changing its location and looking for a new location. And I said, what would you think of, and I won't give you the whole backstory, but what would you think of Thomson Reuters combining with the city of Eagan and having one television facility, because you people use it all the time, the city uses it for different times, and it seems to me it would be a money saver. And Rick King said to me, what does the city say about it? I said, oh, I haven't spoken to them yet, but I will. 4 months later, we moved into a beautiful state-of-the-art studio, which has been updated several times, and all of that and much thanks goes to Rick King. Rick, welcome.
Oh, thank you, Alan. Thanks for the kind words. And it's been a good partnership between the city and Thomson Reuters.
And unfortunately, it hasn't been so ongoing lately because of the pandemic. But Rick started with Thomson Reuters in about 2000 after an interesting career in which he had been a coach, which he had been a teacher, which he had been an executive with 2 other companies, and then came on to Thomson Reuters. And he has certainly taken Minnesota by storm in terms of his involvement in civic adventures and ventures. But I understand that the Thomson Reuters situation is such that you have decided to retire, and I don't know what we're going to do without you. We can't do without you, so you're going to have to stay on as guest host on a frequent basis.
I'd be glad to do the guest hosting, and I'm not retiring from working with you, Alan. You know, I'm fortunate to have put in the right amount of time and have the right amount of age in Thomson Reuters where I can have a good retirement, and that's what I want to do. February 1st is going to be my last day. It'll be quite interesting, but moving on from Thomson Reuters, where I've really enjoyed the 20 years and all the people I've met, including you and Sharon and the whole gang with Access to Democracy, which is, to me, the world's best programming for cable TV. It's just amazing what you've done. And I want to underscore that that was a great article in the Star Tribune recently as well. But I'm going to just go on to doing almost all the other things except for Thomson Reuters that I have been doing. And I'm not precluding anything else, but I don't have anything hidden behind the curtain to jump onto right away. I'm going to see what happens and what comes, but it's not time to go fishing for me, Alan. It's time to look at spending time in some different things.
Well, I'm not surprised, but I am surprised that a fellow as young as you is ready to retire, because I think I was married by the time you were born, and or if I wasn't, I was very close. And here we are. I'm plugging away. As I said before we went on the air, I get up every morning, look in the mirror, and if I see my reflection, I can, proceed with the day. But I know one of your favorites is airplanes, and I see over your shoulder a picture of airplanes, and we'll talk about your association with airplanes and with certainly the Metropolitan Airport Commission. And I'm going to hold up a picture now that might strike a memory for you. It's of you and your dad with an attractive young lady.
Yes.
And
Yes, that was at Air Expo, I believe.
that was at Air Expo. And I don't know who the lady is, but you and your father look very good there.
That is your fine bride, of course, looking good as usual. Yeah, that was one of the many things where our paths crossed, and Air Expo is something that Thomson Reuters has sponsored since 2007, I believe, and it's one of the most popular events with our families because people get to take their extended family out there and look at vintage aircraft at Flying Cloud Airport in Eden Prairie, and it's nice to see people there, 3 generations of family. Sometimes I've seen the grandchild hearing stories from the grandfather who says, I used to be the co-pilot or the mechanic on one of these planes during one of the wars. And then to see the father or the mother, the middle of that generation, hearing some of those stories being told to the grandchild for the very first time. Phenomenal event.
And was it your father's interest in airplanes that got you interested?
It was. He was a private pilot, just messing around in a small plane, and he would always ask our family, our kids, who wanted to go flying, and I was always the one that, no matter what, would say yes. And I kind of got the bug through him, and we lived in Western Massachusetts, and there used to be an Air Force base there called Westover. It's still a field there. And Westover Air Force Base used to be the home of one of the B-52 squadrons. So they'd have their open house, and we'd go to the airport there. And there was nothing like crawling end to end through a B-52.
And one of these days we may have B-52s back or something like them because of our situation in the world with this current president who I think thankfully is on his way out. But in any event, let's talk about Thomson Reuters. I will save my partying for later today when the official announcement is made.
I'm only going to say, Alan, that the B-52 is still around. It's still part of our strategic defenses, and it's on like version J or something. It's one of the that's a plane that's been around since you got married.
Certainly better than the 737 has fared, and that's for sure. Although I think that's coming back in January. Now, the pandemic hit us you're in charge of a huge building with probably 6,000 employees and several, and not only the printing plant, but several restaurants and other facilities, medical facilities, et cetera. And the pandemic hits. And all of a sudden, we're shut down. So talk about that.
Yeah, the first thing we did, the federal guidelines came out and said that certain qualifications of employees could be deemed essential and work. And among those in our building were a few that are security and maintenance to keep the building going. But the printing group, which has continued to work since March in the facility, were one of those deemed essential because they print books that help our federal government and our law enforcement agencies and our Congresses and legislatures do their job. So they've been in for the long haul. And my kudos to all of them. A lot of them live around the area, the listening area, the viewing area that you serve. So we've been really appreciative. But the rest of the group was not able to come in. And when the governor issued his executive order that basically said, if you can work from home, you must work from home, that's still in effect. So that impacts the rest of our teams, except for those people working on the print publications. So since that time, people have worked from home. We've used all the technologies to stay connected. And we just had our earnings call earlier in the week. We've had good successive quarters because our customers, the government agencies, lawyers, accountants, they continue to do their work and need our products and services. Meanwhile, in the facility, we started adjusting the facility for the eventual return to office. We don't know when that will be. First, the governor has to change his executive order, and with the numbers of COVID infected people in our state going up at this point, my guess is that those orders will stay in place for a while, but ultimately they will be lifted and we'll be able to start bringing maybe 25% and upwards of 50% ultimately of our employees back to our office. We have enough distance to be able to do that. We've put up plexiglass, changed the configuration of the elevators, the hallways, the stairways to make a lot of them more one way, and put up the dividers. And we have protocols for temperature taking and tracking and things like that for people when they can come back to the office. But worldwide, Alan, not just in Minneapolis, worldwide, or in Eagan in our office here, less than 5% of our employees are back in their office, no matter where it is.
And we're talking about how many employees?
We have about a little under 30,000 employees worldwide now. So we've come accustomed to, but we don't necessarily love working from home. There are certainly advantages and there are disadvantages. Unfortunately for you, the studio is one of those things closed up to outside, as well as the store, the bank, all the conveniences that are in our facility have been closed. And once we start having employees going back, I would expect all those things to pick themselves back up. Today,
you understand that we consider ourselves essential. Access to democracy, 22 years, and with now our thanks to YouTube and Avi's expertise, worldwide scope, that we consider ourselves essential. So I hope that that's in the mix.
Well, I would consider you essential too. Unfortunately, the federal government has a real definition behind that, and I think I'd have to do a little sleight of hand to get you in that category. But nevertheless, I consider you that way. I hope we can get you back in soon. Thomson Reuters Worldwide has told its employees that they won't have to come back to the office until July 1st. So that's just saying to people, look, we want you to feel safe. We want you to be able to take care of your family and deal with things and get the work in the mix as well. So I think Thomson Reuters has taken a very proactive and employee-centric approach and still been able to be very effective with its customers.
The incredible thing is If there's any upside to the pandemic, and there really isn't, is that it happened after the IT revolution really hit us. Because I don't know what, for instance, Thomson Reuters would have done. We have lost a lot of restaurants. We have lost a lot of mom and pop stores and small businesses. But operations like this and many of the other corporations have been able to continue only because we had these facilities, even these Zoom facilities that we are using right now for this interview. I didn't know what Zoom was a year ago. And I thought it was kids going fast in their cars down the streets. And here we are. And it's also enabled us, right before you, we had an interview with someone from New York. We've had interviews with people from California. And I think that Zoom will be part of our future because we were able to do things with Zoom that we were unable to do really just in studio interviews. But it's not the same, and it's not, we don't have the crew in. ORBIE has learned masterfully how to operate the Zoom techniques and working with the Thomson Reuters people to get the interviews up and on the air, but it's not the same.
I agree with you. There are some advantages. And I think when we start coming back to work and many of the big companies start coming back to work, what you're going to see is what I would call a hybrid mode. There'll be people are not going to be coming to the office. Everybody won't be in 5 days a week, 7 days a week, whatever they're doing. There'll be a little more mixture of working from home because people have proven that they can do it. And then there'll be reasons that people come in on certain days, and it will also be less than the full complement. So I think just like you'll do some interviews in the studio in the future, but you'll probably reach out beyond the area and talk to people that you wouldn't normally talk to via the technology. So it'll be hybrid.
And with you as a guest host, we'll have people who wouldn't normally talk to me who would be happy to talk to you because there are a lot of those.
Oh, I love talking to you, Alan. I feel, I last time I was on, I talked with Bill, and I love Bill. We talked about airport stuff, which we both have a good fascination for, but I got the varsity team this time, Alan.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I don't have my New Jersey on. Oh, I feel badly about that. Now, Rick King is a person who has been appointed by 3 consecutive governors of Minnesota to prestigious positions. That tells you something about his ability and his accomplishments. He also just recently won an ORBIE, ORBIE, from the Twin Cities CIO. And tell us about that.
Well, it was an unexpected honor that the Twin Cities CIO group presented what they call an ORBIE. It's an orbital disc. It's a sphere, and they called it an ORBIE. It was from the CIO group for leadership, a leadership award, and it's something that was really a great pleasure to accept on behalf of all the good people that I worked with over the years. But the thing that made me the proudest about it was that it was about leadership and how you work with people more than it was just about technology. So that was kind of nice, Alan.
Now, I don't know if it's been announced yet, and it might have been, but you were also the recipient of a TEKNE, TEKNE, for lifetime achievement, and that's from the Minnesota Technology Association. So now I know you won a TEKNE about 8 years ago, but this is the most prestigious for lifetime achievement. Tell us about that.
Well, that I think has been announced, and well, certainly it is now, and it will be presented late in a couple of weeks. So it's quite an honor to get a TEKNE. It's a great organization, formerly Minnesota High Tech, now Minnesota Technology Association. And again, the one quibble I have with it is, they call it a lifetime award, Alan, and I'm kind of going like, hey, I've got a lot left. I'm still kicking, man. I want to follow that guy Miller and keep working.
I wish you well in that regard. And I will say this, you are still the chair of the Metropolitan Airport Commission.
That's right.
And Bill Raker recently interviewed the chairman of the airport itself,
The
whose name
CEO,
escapes
Brian
me.
Ricks, I think. Yep.
Pardon? I
Brian
didn't hear
Ricks.
you.
Yep.
Yeah, and we have spent some time talking about the Airport Commission and what it does and what the airport has turned into, which is winning awards as the best airport in the country. And we've also talked about airport noise. But you've been involved in a lot of things. You're on the board of directors of TCF Financial Corporation, the bank. So it's no wonder you have such nice suits.
You know, that's why, Alan, when I think about retiring from TR, where I really have loved TR. So there's nothing but glowing from my point of view about the company. I'm going to be able to do some different things, and I've still got a lot of stuff I'm doing. So I don't think it's your typical retirement.
Now, I know you've spent a lot of time in Switzerland, but my hope is that you're staying here, home base in the Twin Cities.
We have no plans to move. We plan to stay here where we are. I'm going to be involved in the community like I am. I hope to continue. I've got at least a couple more years on my appointment to the MAC. We've got a lot of work to do to get the airport into recover from pandemic mode. We've been doing a lot of work on that already. And there's a lot to do in all the other endeavors that I'm in. And I'm particularly excited this month because next week we begin the rollout of the replacement for the MNLARS software, the vehicle registration software that I helped do a report on to shift it from MNLARS to a new software product. And the new one will roll out beginning next week. And I think this is going to be a fantastic thing for the state of Minnesota and for the citizens.
For people who haven't followed, MNLARS was a state disaster that didn't function well and had an override of millions of dollars and has taken really 2 years to repair and replace. So that's welcome information that will be rolling out in a new configuration. And you're also on the board of trustees of the American Public Media Group and Minnesota Public Radio. So you certainly have enough involvement in enough areas there. And I know you are an advisor in your local airport in Eden Prairie. And what else?
Well, I think, Alan, you covered most of them. The only one I can think of which relates to that technology for the state is I was renamed by the governor to be the chair of the governor's Blue Ribbon Council on IT. So we continue that work, which is helping the state modernize its IT structure and how it serves the citizens. And we've made our first report back in June, and there's been a lot of good progress with the state and IT. So I'm pleased about that.
Yeah, what I spoke about earlier was this is a recommendation or an appointment from Governor Walz. Previously, you had been with the previous governor, and then you started with the governor before that, Governor Pawlenty. So it has been an ongoing thing with you and ultimately appointed to the chair.
Yeah, I think from my point of view, the thing that transcends all of the people that I've been fortunate to be appointed by is they wanted certain things done. I told them I shoot straight. We go to get good things to happen. We collaborate. We work bipartisanly across the groups, and we bring forward recommendations that are implementable. And I think all those governors, all three governors, have really appreciated that kind of approach. And I know the current governor is very excited about things that have been brought to him in the technology area and in the area of the airport.
And Governor Dayton was likewise very, very involved and very excited. You know, one of the big problems facing government today, and we see it with this election and the threats of hackers, which we actually went through a few months ago individually, but also Thomson Reuters. And I know you have to protect your material, you have to protect your copyright, you have to protect all this. Cybersecurity threats have been a tremendous ongoing problem, and I know you've had to deal with them. So do you see that getting any better?
I wish I could say I did. I think it's going to only get worse and more sophisticated, Alan. I think that the attack vectors where the bad guys come after you continue to increase with the complexity of the technology in the world. And the good guys, the defenders, have to be aggressive and spend money on proactive measures. And unfortunately, this kind of money, you need to protect yourself, so you need to spend the money, whether you're a bank, whether you're the state, whether you're Alan Miller working at home with his wife, Sharon. You know, you've got to protect yourself. And we all believe that the money we have to spend on that, while it's needed for that purpose, it isn't really accomplishing anything good for the world. It's just playing a defensive game. It's a shame that we have to do that. But I see no letdown in the offensive strategy of the bad guys.
And it is so really aggravating and debilitating to have to deal with that. We had somebody who insisted that if I didn't get up to Best Buy with $4,200 before closing, that we would be punished. And what I did was alert the police, and we had the police on the line also. And he took a very dim view of that. So what he did was put 18 viruses on Sharon's computer, and we actually had to go and have that thing stripped and restarted. It was really a plus changing bank accounts and changing everything else. It really, really, and of course they prey on older people, and fortunately I'm not older, but there are older people who really become the victims.
Yeah, I would just say from a public service point of view to everybody who's listening, if you get that call, if you get that email, don't bother answering the call if you don't know who it is. And then if it's an email, don't click on it if you don't know who it's from. Just don't even bother. Just delete it. No reputable agency of the government, state, federal, county, local, will actually suspend anything with you having to make a rapid phone call. No car insurance, no nothing. Nobody's going to do that. So just delete it.
Well, we had a series of calls that came in to me about Social Security and the fact that my Social Security had been attacked. And I finally got angry about it. So I said, okay, I'm going to cooperate with you. And I made up a phony name. I was Joe Zlobotnik. And I made up a phony Social Security number, and we went through the whole thing. And that person really got disappointed toward the end of the conversation and hung up. And fortunately, haven't heard from them in a few months. So
good for
maybe
you.
we got rid of that one.
Yeah, I just think people, anything that puts you in a hurry to respond is probably wrong. So don't do it.
We have been talking with Rick King, who is the, I guess I could say, outgoing managing director of Thomson Reuters International, and a great friend in many ways, as well as not only a guest, but a guest host. And you're going to be seeing more of him in that capacity, hopefully. Probably be back with Governor Walz before too long, when we get a little further along in controlling the pandemic. And we'll have more for you. But Rick, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for the past 10 or 11 years that we've been associated. It's been very meaningful to us, and you've been really great through it all.
Thank you, Alan. I look forward to continuing to work with you and Sharon and the crew. And great job. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
And thanks again, and we're off.